We'll be going into all this now as I'm joined by two gentlemen. Chris Iyama, to my left, is the Country Director, Equity International Initiative and convener Citizens Coalition Against Forceful Vaccination in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Also with us is Barrister Desmond Eke, co-convener Coalition Against Impunity and Injustice in Nigeria. He's a human rights lawyer. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'll start with you. Government's efforts to pressure citizens to get vaccinated and the resistance from the people.
First of all, I want to say thank you again for the opportunity to be on your program. This is an issue that has been raging for the past 1 year, a little above 1 year, since this emergence of this COVID virus and the attendant vaccine that was produced as a means of fighting it. And there has been a lot of hesitancy for obvious reasons. One of them being that the safety of the vaccine, it's not guaranteed. And a pointer to that is the fact that the manufacturers had to make the nations to sign an indemnification agreement to the effect that should anything go wrong with you as a result of the administration of this vaccine, the manufacturers cannot be held accountable. This is one of the reasons why there is hesitation.
Now, is it a standard practice for vaccines?
It is not the standard practice. It is not the standard practice. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm a lawyer, but I read, so I know some of these things.
We also read how global bodies, World Health Organizations, national regulatory agencies controlling drugs administration and all that have also certified them safe and have encouraged citizens to get administered.
It is not about certifying it safe. The question is, what role did our own regulatory body, in this case NAFDAC, what role did NAFDAC play in the process leading to the production of this vaccine? What role did NAFDAC play?
Their role
did they play any role in the clinical trials?
The role of regulatory...
Did they play any role leading in the process leading to the manufacture of this vaccine? Or are they just telling us that the vaccine is safe because World Health Organization has said the vaccine is safe? That's the question.
They said it's safe because they subjected them to intense analysis and they believe is not injurious to human. Regulatory agencies are not part of the process of indeed manufacturing the drugs. They only certify them to have been at a certain, perhaps tolerable safety limits.
Okay, they're subjected to tests. The kind of tests they carry out, we are not aware. But why are the manufacturers themselves distance themselves from any liability that may emerge as a result of adverse effects of this vaccine? If the manufacturer themselves can distance themselves, can even go to the extent of saying you must sign an indemnification agreement with us before we can deliver this vaccine to you, how then can NAFDAC tell us with assurance that the vaccine is safe?
It's just like a health institution asking a relative to sign before a major surgery is performed, also absolving themselves of any liability. So we do see it in medicine, don't we?
We do see it in medicine, but those are exceptional circumstances. When you look at the nature of vaccine and the history of vaccines all over, in the history of humanity, you are aware that there have been times where vaccines were administered, and after a long time, it was discovered that those vaccines actually did not do the job they were supposed to do.
Example.
It was discovered that these vaccines had adverse effects. You had the Pfizer issue in Nigeria here. You had it.
No, that's the testing, the illegal testing, not authorized to administer. But let me come to Chris. Let's get your perspective. What he was referring to the Pfizer, it was at test stage, you know, they were not certified yet. Illegal testing in Nigeria.
Well, it's not a question about illegal testing or not. It's the fact, it's a question of the fact that that vaccine was administered on innocent people. That is
without their consent.
Yes, without their consent. And secondly, it is actually another. With respect to the COVID-19 vaccine, it's just a clear different case. What we are saying with respect to the pronouncement issued by the Edo State Governor is that you cannot. If you listen to the statement, that statement sounded like a tyrant kind of statement. like maybe a dictator is giving an order to his citizens. We felt no, that should not be allowed to stay, because you cannot tell us that from the second week of September, if you do not show proof of being vaccinated, you will not be allowed to get into public space. You will not. You will require to show your vaccine certificate before you can access the mosque, access the banks, access different public space. We felt that is not right, because in the first instance, what is the number of dosage that is even available to the Edo State government? And then again, we felt that it is criminal, and the government is just using that to divert the attention of citizens from their primary responsibility as government. If you get to Edo, maybe we'll get...
No, let's interrogate what you have said.
Yes.
It's not only Edo State governor that is doing this. Ondo State, many of them. So it's not restricted to Edo. That's one thing. Then another thing, is a government not responsible to the overall health of its citizens? Should a government not take steps to safeguard the health and safety of its citizens?
We must look at the rates in Edo State and even in Ondo State. Mind you, the reason why Ondo State government started was because of the so-called pronouncement of the Edo State government. And that was the reason for the protest. We felt that if this thing is allowed to stand in Edo State, other governors that are just waiting to abuse the right of citizens will just take it up. So we felt that is not right at all. And you know, we're talking about the issue of COVID-19 vaccine here. There are more pressing issues. Mr. Mechi, you are aware that in this country, malaria has killed more people than COVID-19. You are aware that insecurity has killed more people than COVID-19. So what are we talking about here? We are saying that governors must face the business of governance. Let me tell you, to be vaccinated or not to be, to get vaccinated or whatever, remains a thing of choice. You cannot deny my rights on the basis of the fact that I have not been vaccinated, because after all, there's still a lot of controversy with respect to COVID-19 and the vaccine. See, I think going forward, there's a lot of research that needs to be carried out, because the reason why I'm saying this is because there are so many persons who said they have taken the COVID-19 vaccine and their body system have been reacting to it.
When you say many, it's the number now. There are every drug that administered have side effects. We do have this side effect, but the majority have not issued any complaint.
See,
so let's not latch on few cases to generalize. And
I'm aware that this is a live program. Research must be carried out. The media must go in total to carry out basic research on a lot, because most persons' voices are being silenced. I mean, we have gone to different communities. In fact, when we were in Edo State, Ondo, Edo State, and in Port Harcourt, we saw a lot of persons giving. In fact, that is leading us to organize an important town hall meeting for citizens to share their experiences with respect to the people that have taken the COVID-19 vaccine. So our point remains that you cannot force anybody to take COVID-19. You cannot restrict anybody's fundamental human right on the basis of the fact that he or she has not taken COVID-19. You cannot restrict my freedom of movement.
Is there any drug that you know, any vaccine that you know that does not have any side effect?
Well, I don't know for now. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm a human rights activist. You see, like I said, we cannot silence the right of Nigerians, because if this is allowed to stand, don't forget that we have, just by that mere pronouncement alone, you need to see what is already happening in Edo State. Overzealous security personnel and health officials just before. And maybe we'll still get into the later part of the program, because I'm sure you are aware that there is a court injunction stopping the governor from carrying out that order.
Okay. Now, he's talking about rights. They say your rights ends where that of another starts. Now, the president, a governor, can, within some areas, take steps that will safeguard overall safety interest of his citizens. Is it not what we're seeing in this instance?
Before I answer that question, I would just want to quickly comment on the question you asked about if there is no drug, if there is any drug that does not have side effects. The answer to that question may be a no. But before you can, talk about the side effect of a drug, you must be sure that the necessary precautionary measures have been taken. We are all aware that there is a time in the production of vaccines, there is a procedure. Now, when the production has gone through that various stages, then you can now say with certainty, at this stage, we can say that this vaccine is safe, largely safe. There may be one or two side effects, but it may be significant. Do you understand? But where you have not gone through that process, or where you have abridged the process, and you rush to produce a vaccine, you cannot make categorical statements. And that is what has happened.
Rushed, best certified.
That is what has
happened. Yes, I agreed. We know that on the average, it takes upward of 3-5 years for a vaccine to be rolled out. But this one came out in a record time.
In a record time.
And it was also certified by relevant.
The question now is...
Don't you appreciate or don't you trust these institutions, global, national, that certify that it is safe?
It is not about trusting them. It's about the fact that they are human beings and they are prone to errors. What if at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we'll find out that they made mistakes?
All of them, all the countries of the world that have approved, are they all likely to?
Listen, they are approving based on the certification by World Health Organization. That is the basis of the approval and acceptance of the vaccine.
No, there are two levels.
Yeah.
WHO approves,
yes.
Then each national regulatory agency for drug administration approves.
If WHO did not approve, I'm sure those local regulatory agencies may not have approved.
They carried out independent, separate tests.
The approval is based on the approval of the WHO. So
no,
what I'm saying
not entirely.
So what I'm saying is that
apart from the WHO approval, generic approval, they all carried out pharmaceutical clinical analysis on their own before issuing the approval.
That is what we were told. But the fact remains that their approval is based on the approval of the World Health Organization. That is why you have seen some persons here and there who say we have a vaccine that we have produced. WHO say it is not certified. And until WHO certifies it, you find that nobody uses it.
That's the first step.
So that is the thing. So now that this time that is required,
but there are some countries that started
have been abridged.
There are some countries.
You cannot be certain
Russia,
that drug
the
is safe.
Sputnik, if you recall, for this same coronavirus, Russia started administration even before the WHO did theirs. So they said they carried out tests and they are convinced that it's safe. So it's not all dependent on the WHO.
Majority is dependent on the WHO.
Absolutely. Majority.
So having said that,
let me now go to the issue of rights and public interest.
Yes. Now, we know that by virtue of Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which is from Section 33 to 45, thereabout, there are rights that are called fundamental rights. That means these rights are inalienable. They are rights that cannot be taken away except under conditions approved by the law. We are also aware that no right is absolute. Yes, that's the reason why to every right there is a clawback provision to that right. No right, even the right to life is not absolute. Under certain circumstances, a person's right to life can be taken away lawfully. Now, there is a provision in Chapter 4, that's in Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which says that nothing will invalidate a law validly made on the ground alone that such law contravenes the provisions of Section 4 of the Constitution, of Chapter 4 of the Constitution, if that law is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. So when the law is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society, even though it curtails the right of citizens, it is still acceptable. Now, the test here is reasonable and reasonableness. If it is not reasonable, if it's not justifiable, that law, the court will strike it down. So how do you now judge under these circumstances whether this particular law or order being issued by the governors is reasonable and justifiable? Now, it brings us back to the facts of the COVID-19 as it relates to the figures, the number of cases, the number of recoveries, the number of active cases. So when you discover that in Nigeria, as a nation, we have about 200,000 confirmed cases, thereabouts, out of which over 100 and up to 170,000 recovered, over 197 recovered, and have been discharged. Now you have 2,000 something deaths. Now let me go to Edo State, because Edo State seems to be the epicenter of this issue of human rights, because the governor has come out to make a statement that beginning from the middle of this month, people will be stopped from accessing certain places except they show their vaccine certificate or whatever. Edo has over 5,000 reported cases, out of which over 4,000, well over 4,800 recovered. Presently, they have about 371 active cases, and they have about 196 deaths since this pandemic began over a year ago. So can you say, judging by these figures, that the government is right to say that I cannot go to church to worship, I cannot go to the mosque, I cannot go to the bank, I cannot go to the mall, except I show evidence that I have been vaccinated? Looking at these figures and the number of people in Nigeria and the number of people in those states, can you say that a law taking away the rights of Nigerians is reasonably justifiable? In my opinion, the answer is no. But this is what the courts will have to answer finally, because the matter is already in court. In my opinion, going by this fact, the answer is a big no. That law or any pronouncement, be it executive order whatsoever, based on the facts as stated, that law is not reasonable, is not justifiable in a democratic setting.
Now, I'm coming. Okay. I know you're eager to come in. Airlines, countries, insist you must be fully vaccinated before you can enter their country. Is it not steps responsible input governments, institutions are taking to safeguard public interest? What makes that, we have seen in some states, different?
Well, airlines, you have a choice. You can decide to go by road. You can decide to go by sea.
You drive through
you can decide
the
to
Mediterranean
go by
Sea
any
to
other,
Europe.
You can decide to go by any other means available. You understand? So even though they say you cannot fly on our plane except to be vaccinated, it doesn't still deny you the right of going from one country to another, because there are other means of travel.
So
but when you now say, I cannot come to a public place, I cannot go to the bank to transact my business, I cannot go to the market to buy and sell. You are denying me the right to live.
Are there not options? Worship at home, trade online, financial transaction online. Is it not that these policy
maybe at
measures...
a point we'll also parent online. I will parent my kids online.
Are these policy measures...
You cannot buy Pepe online. You know, so just...
You know, so in US, there are some restrictions. Common places, federal buildings, if you're not vaccinated, you're denied access. And that's world bastion of democracy. And if you talk of fundamental human rights, you only point at US as classic example.
See, let me tell you. Just before that, before I came to the studio, I was reading a publication by the WHO, which says that you cannot force anybody to be vaccinated. It is there on their website.
Yes.
You see, because just
and these governments have not forced anybody, as it were.
From the mere pronouncement,
have they arrested anybody for not being vaccinated?
From the mere pronouncement of the governor of Edo State, I can tell you, because that is where I'm coming from. A lot of enforcement already is being carried out. There's a lot of circulars.
When you mingle with the public,
circulars from their public, from their health institutions. Even as at last week, the chairperson of the Judicial Union called me and said he's aware that there's a matter in court, and that they gave them an order that if they are not fully vaccinated, they should stay at home, they should not come. So he called me and said, what are they going to... He now had to mobilize his workers, met with them and said, no, this is not right. This is judiciary. Because at the end of the day, the matter is in court.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We are delving into the controversy generated by attempts to vaccinate Nigerians against coronavirus. Some state governments rolling out stringent measures, and some groups resisting, citing human rights, citing laws and statutes that say citizens have rights and have choice as to the issue of vaccination. Barrister Desmond Eke is the co-convener Coalition Against Impunity and Justice, and is joined by Chris Iyama, a country director, Equity International Initiative. Gentlemen, thank you so much for remaining with us. Before we went on break, you made mention of a court case, a court order, and of course the need for the rule of law to indeed be adhered to and implemented.
You see, just before we went on that protest that we had, we made efforts to meet with the state government to have a dialogue. We felt that it is not right to go to the street first. Let us make effort in having an opinion. Let us bring key relevant stakeholders to the table. Let us talk about it, okay? And so that, unfortunately, that didn't work out. We tried different means, it didn't work out until we resolved to do that.
After the protest?
Yes, as we're doing that, not knowing that a dear citizen of the state went to the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt to obtain an injunction stopping the government from carrying out that order. And then, the following day, just as we were addressing a World Press Conference on that issue, the court order came up. Now, in the response of the state government, especially what the governor said, the governor of Edo State titled it as judicial tourism, that the citizen of the state went outside of the state to obtain a court order. Now, is it that there is a particular order to be obeyed and another one not to be obeyed because it is not? Excuse me, Federal High Court or the State High Court, they are all of court of competent jurisdiction, and that they can hear that matter and they can give this. So we expected that the state government stay in line with the court order. You know, so
you're quite right. That's you must obey an order. Then begin to question it. But we know now that the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the National Judicial Council have also pointed at the issue of territoriality, territories and jurisdiction, and they need to also. That is an issue.
It is federal. It is federal. It is Federal High Court.
You said
yes.
Is an issue for the matter.
Yes, it's a Federal High Court. So even as we speak, I'm aware that the state government is challenging that order. Okay, so there is no point for them to go outside of the court order to start implementing the so-called forced vaccination. That's our standpoint.
Is it forced or pressures to do so? Force is, the way I understand it, if I refuse to be vaccinated, by the way, I'm fully vaccinated, I will be arrested, fined, or sent to jail. Is that not false? But if you accept not to be vaccinated, is the government not responsible to restrict your movement, especially mingling with the public, in order to protect lives and safety of others? What do you mean by forced or compulsory vaccination here?
Okay, before I comment on that, I just want to go back to the issue of jurisdiction that we mentioned about, you made reference to the...
Now, just put it by the way.
Yes.
These are issues that will come up in court.
Yes,
so I just wanted to throw it up.
But I just want to point out that for the purpose of jurisdiction, the Federal High Court is one. There is only one Federal High Court in Nigeria with multiple divisions for administrative purposes, administrative convenience. So where a matter has been filed in one division of the Federal High Court, if that court is of the opinion that because of the territory where the matter came up, the subject matter of the suit came up, or because of where the defendant lives, that it will be better for this matter to be tried in another division. So what the court will do is just to move.
Especially, like you say, with Federal High Court.
Yes, with Federal High Court. It's different when it has to do with State High Court. Federal High Court is only one. We have only one Federal High Court with different jurisdictions, with different divisions. So that's what it is. Having said that, coming back to the issue of whether the vaccination is forced or compulsory or whatever nomenclature we want to use. Now, when you tell me that it is not, that I have, that I'm at liberty to accept this, but if I don't accept this, this thing will not happen, you are invariably giving me no option. When you tell me that except I get vaccinated, I cannot go to church or the mosque, I cannot go to the bank to transact, I cannot go to the market, I cannot access event centers, you are invariably telling me that you must be vaccinated, because these things are things that every human being must do. If you don't do this, then you are dead. Do you understand? So even though they say it is not forced, it is not compulsory, yet they have made it compulsory. Are you aware that there are circulars circulated in some ministries and parastatals to the effect that any civil servant that is not vaccinated will not receive salary? What then do you call compulsory vaccination? What do you call forced vaccination? That's
before I take a look at the 1929 Quarantine Act, I always mention, and I think I posed that question to him, in the US, in Europe, access to stadium, you must be fully vaccinated, you present the certificate. There are many places in US and across Europe that before you access any public space, you must present your vaccination certificate. Does it amount, is it not a similar thing state governments are doing in Nigeria? How different are they?
Well, first of all, you must look at our own peculiar circumstance. What is the infectious rate in Nigeria as compared to the US? What is the death rate in Nigeria as compared to the US? Do you understand? What's the number of active cases? What's the number of those who are in critical condition and those who only have mild symptoms? You must compare these things so that we don't just copy and paste because they did it in America, let's do it in Nigeria. Is the case the same in Nigeria as it is in US? The answer is no.
Based
secondly,
on confirmed cases.
Confirmed cases.
Let me ask you, is the same number of testing done in the US, can you compare with Nigeria? You can see that we are far off.
Of course.
Are you not aware of an independent study carried out by some groups in conjunction with the Nigerian Center for Disease Control that tested the antibody response in people and discovered that a greater number may have survived coronavirus? Because
without
we are
even
not
being
testing,
aware.
we are not testing as much.
That also brings...
The confirmed
that
cases
also,
may not represent the actual cases.
This, what you just said, even brings to the fore our argument over time that the virus itself is not as deadly as it's being made to look. If people can contact the virus and then recover on their own, then how deadly is the virus?
The unfortunate ones.
What you just said is it even goes to strengthen this argument.
What of the
secondly,
what of the unfortunate ones that do not survive? We can dismiss them with a wave of the hand.
Where is the data? And again, even the cases we have, the so-called confirmed cases, and those who are direct COVID-19 deaths. Remember that sometime in the past, a governor in this country, particularly the governor of Lagos State, said that anybody who has malaria symptom will be classified
as a suspected
COVID-19 patient, except the otherwise is proven.
Yes.
So assuming that person dies before a test is carried out, do you know that automatically is counted as COVID death? Are you aware? So this also goes to increase the number.
There are tests that are carried out
after death when a person is dead. They carry out also to confirm whether it was COVID-19.
In fact,
or not.
Just to add to that, do you know that after the rally we had in Edo State, I was down with malaria, maybe because of stress. I couldn't
Were you diagnosed of malaria or you suspected malaria?
I went for a test. I went for a test and it proved that I had malaria typhoid. And maybe that was because of...
Was coronavirus test part of the test?
It was not part of it. But I'm saying that to
say
it
could have also been coronavirus.
It couldn't have been.
But you didn't do this. How would you determine that when you didn't do the test?
That is the problem. That's the problem. All I was just told, hey, you have been stressed. You just need to relax a little bit, calm down, eat well, and then just take a good sleep. But if I had proceeded further to carry out a COVID-19 test, perhaps they would have said they would have found COVID. That is the fraud we are talking about here.
A lot of people across the world go through without knowing. We have accepted that the fatality rate is much lower compared to other viruses such as Ebola and others.
Yes.
So if you had gone for that, you could have come out positive.
It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been positive.
And that's the reason.
No,
you now understand.
It is not. Listen.
Let me come. You now understand why state governments in Ondo are taking steps to protect citizens, because a lot of people may have it without knowing, because we are not testing as much as we should.
See, especially from the statement of the Lagos State governor and of course NCDC that said if you suspect of having malaria or a runny nose, just go, and then they will classify it as COVID. I have a big challenge with that, because
no, they didn't say they will classify. They will suspect that.
They will suspect, and the moment that suspicion is done, it will be recorded. That's what has been going on.
No, it won't be recorded.
No,
it's NCDC that publishes the figures, and that's only after they have confirmed in their laboratories.
That is why I said it is important that media goes ahead to do independent research, because a lot of things that you are being fed may not be accurate.
Of course,
it may not be accurate. Listen, people thought that we are against the COVID-19 vaccine. We are not against the COVID-19 vaccine. What we are just up against is that nobody should be made to be denied his certain rights on the basis of the fact that he or she has not taken the jab.
Are you against the polio vaccine?
I'm not against the polio vaccine. Listen, but when you have a lot of mystery, in quotes, surrounding the so-called COVID-19, then we should ask questions. And let me tell you,
as a citizen, you have the right to ask questions.
Are you aware that last year, A university in Nigeria, I will not mention the university, published a research and came up with a vaccine. That vaccine was rejected because why? It is not from so-called US or London. When do we begin? See, it's a question. When are we going to start coming up with our
rejected by who?
It was rejected by NAFDAC and the World Health Organization. So does it mean that after spending a lot of money for research in our universities, medical institutions, and virology institute, we cannot come up with our own vaccine?
Was it subjected to clinical tests?
According to them, it was subjected to clinical tests, and
so
they said it
what
was.
You're saying is that you don't trust
What I'm saying in essence.
NAFDAC processes. That's what you're saying in essence.
Listen.
NAFDAC has said we ran tests over this, we subjected it to clinical trials, and it didn't meet up with standards.
You see, that's the problem. When do we begin to appreciate our own valid institution? You have sent me to school to study medicine, to study virology or whatever, and at the end of the day, you gave me money to come up with vaccine or medication, and at the end of the day I come up with.
So is it because of patriotic, or perhaps because of nationalism, we should accept substandard vaccine?
It is, who said it's substandard? Who said it's substandard?
NAFDAC, the authorized body.
NAFDAC and the so-called authorized body, they only picked that from the World Health Organization because the World Health Organization said they cannot trust the vaccine made in Nigeria.
No, where? Which of the officials said it?
That was what they said.
No, you're insinuating it. There's a process. I also know that as we speak, NAFDAC is currently subjecting other locally made, not just vaccines, cure and drugs about coronavirus to tests.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But just to add a little to what Mr. Chris has said, I'm waiting for the day NAFDAC will reject a drug that has been certified by the World Health Organization and say it's not good for Nigeria. I'm waiting for the NAFDAC will do that. That day, I'll be the happiest man, because it does seem to me that once it comes from there, NAFDAC approves.
Now,
but if it's not there, it's not approved.
Can I give you one instance?
Please, secondly.
Can I give you one instance on this?
Okay.
After the WHO authorized Moderna, Pfizer and AstraZeneca, J&J, and after the US regulatory bodies have also certified it, it was not administered in Nigeria. So technically it was rejected by NAFDAC till they subjected it to their own clinical observations.
And when they subjected, they passed it, right?
And it passed.
Fine. I didn't say they don't subject, but I'm waiting for the day they will test and reject, the way they reject the ones made in Nigeria.
There are so many drugs made outside Nigeria that NAFDAC refused certification. It's on record. Many of them.
Maybe because it was not approved by World Health Organization. If it had been approved,
because it did not meet up with their clinical standards.
Because there is this copy and paste attitude we have here in the country, which is very unfortunate. Now, I want to quickly make reference again, because we have oftentimes compared Nigeria to US when it comes to this COVID-19 vaccination and the following the human rights abuses that have followed it. Even in the US, I have pointed out already that these are two different cases. These are two different cases because of the infectious rate, the death rate, and the recovery rate. Now, even in US, where some of these steps have been taken, people are not just accepting it. There are lawsuits challenging those measures. There are lawsuits in the US challenging those measures.
So
it's not as if they have now said, okay,
accepted.
Yes, there are lawsuits
subjected to judicial
people are challenging
just
it,
as with Nigeria.
Just as we are challenging it in Nigeria. And our own, we even have stronger case. We have a stronger case. When you look
think you have a stronger case.
Not that I think, I know that we have a stronger case.
It's a decision for the judge to take.
I know that we have, I didn't say we're going to win, but I know that we'll have a strong case, particularly when you look at the number of infections, the number of deaths, and the number of recoveries compared to the population of Nigeria.
You know, I've tried to also expose the other side of the confirmed
testing
cases. Yes. You know, there are so many unknown diseases that kill people that were not subjected to test and other.
Even before COVID-19, people were dying of unknown diseases.
Let me read, absolutely.
Yes.
Let me read aspects of the 1929 Quarantine Act in Nigeria, Section 4, subsection C, D, E. I'll stop there. The roles of the president or the governor in terms of infectious diseases, preventing the spread of any dangerous infectious disease from any place within Nigeria. preventing the transmission of any dangerous infectious disease from Nigeria or from any place within Nigeria, whether an infected local area or not, to any place within Nigeria, prescribing the powers and duties of such officers as they may be charged with carrying out such regulations. Now, do you think these governors, Edo, Ondo, do not or did not derive their powers from these provisions to begin to ensure safety of citizens and take steps to improve the health condition of citizens based on this law?
Well, where the governor or the president derives his powers, it's one thing. Whether the law empowering them in that regard is reasonably justifiable is another thing altogether.
And so whether he can override the fundamental
that is
rights.
where the test.
Which of the fundamental rights do you think is being abridged now?
The right to freedom of movement, the right to in fact, the right to life. Yes, the right to freedom of association, the right to religion. Because when you say I cannot go to church, I cannot go to mosque, you are stopping me from living. Do you understand? I cannot access the banks. I cannot access event centers. I cannot even go to the market to buy and sell. Okay. Do you understand? So I want what I.
So it's left for the courts to determine
yes,
the strength of this
whether
act
this
against
law,
provisions
whether
of the
this law,
Constitution.
whether this law, when compared to the circumstances, the fact as regards to the COVID-19 virus and the vaccine thereof, whether these steps now is reasonably justifiable in a democratic setting.
And
if you face that
that
test,
goes to show
the court to strike it down.
And that has always been our position.
Yes.
That we must go further to demystify governance. That just because a statement is coming from a governor does not mean that it should not be
Does not make it right. Yeah.
Does not make it right.
I agree with you. Now, quickly, as we are running short of time, the process of amending the Quarantine Act is still on in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Recall, at the heat of coronavirus infections, there were some, what people consider draconian provisions to make it compulsory. You could be arrested and jailed or fined for refusing to be vaccinated, but the outcry shut it down.
Yes.
But the bill is still pending in the National Assembly. What are your expectations?
You are aware that it was on that basis that we invited to Same Focus Nigeria sometimes last year, where we talked about it, the NCDC bill.
Yes.
You are aware. And then we said that those laws or those provisions before the National Assembly is too draconian. It is a similar thing to what we are saying here today, that the National Assembly, saddled with such responsibility to make laws, should not pass that law. And that's the reason why that particular law was suspended for now. Because a lot of NGOs and civil society organizations cried out because we felt that it's a breach of the fundamental human right of citizens. And it should not stand. That's always our position.
Okay, your perspectives on that bill?
Yes. The funny thing about that bill that is still pending, as draconian as that bill is, they sought to surreptitiously pass it when there were lockdowns and lockups. If not, in fact, it even passed one reading or so, first reading or second reading, before people started crying out, look at what's going on. So they wanted to surreptitiously and hurriedly, just like the way they hurriedly produce the vaccine, they wanted to also hurriedly.
What is hurriedly
they also
pass
wanted
the
to,
law? There are processes.
to hurriedly pass the law overnight, so that we just wake up and now discover that, my friend, this is the
National
this is the
Assembly
present
was
law in
in
Nigeria.
session.
It was the outcries of
I'm
civil society
coming.
organizations like
Yes.
us.
Was the National Assembly not in session that time?
They were in session.
So what's hurriedly about it?
Hurriedly in the sense that there was no proper
no
sensitization.
citizen consultation.
There was no
Civil
proper
society
sensitization.
organizations
There ought to
carried
be.
along.
There's what is called.
There was no public hearing.
There
on
was
it?
no. There was no proper. Before you even go to public hearing, you have to first of all sensitize the people. This is the law we want to pass. This is what the law is all about. Then we're going to have public hearing based on this. So when they are coming to the public hearing, they will come prepared to make input. But when this sensitization is not done and you want to pass it, it means you want to do it surreptitiously and hurriedly.
Have you not seen
particularly when
some
the
laws
law
that were
was
passed
very
within
draconian.
1 week in Nigeria?
I have
Some
seen.
bills that were passed within 1 week.
Does it make it right? It doesn't make it right. But again,
But it doesn't make it wrong.
But again,
it doesn't make them illegal.
what now matters is the content of that bill and the intention of the lawmakers. If the content of that bill truly there's an emergency and that needs urgent response, under that circumstances, well and fine. But where there is issue of suspicion where the people's right to be taken away like that, and you want to surreptitiously pass that law within 1 week, it is wrong.
I don't know
And
what
it's
you
not
mean by
acceptable.
surreptitiously.
So it's not
That's
acceptable.
where I'm
So
concerned with.
At this point, I
there
just
are
want to-
processes, and I've told you there are many instances, including the amendment of the Constitution, that was done in a record time. So
like I said before,
time frame may
like I
not
said
be
before,
an issue
the
here.
content and the intention, if they are well-meaning, if because of the situation, this is what needs to be done for the betterment of the society, not because of the selfishness or of the lawmakers, then that's fine.
Barrister Desmond Eke, co-convener Coalition Against Impunity and Justice in Nigeria, was joined by Chris Iyama Center, Country Director, Equity International Initiative. That's a human rights organization. Thank you so much for weighing in on this very contentious issue.
Thanks for checking out Symphony on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.